Greetings, critters. It's Fox here, and welcome to my Burrow of Thoughts, aka my channel, where we talk about everything spooky. And today is going to be my final, super late, albeit, spooky season video, my Halloween reads wrap up. So settle into your burrows because things are about to get. The first book I'm going to be talking about is In the House in the Dark of the Woods by Laird Hunt. Oh boy. What this book, I think, is about, a woman is lost and at the mercy of a stranger and must face horrors to find her way home. This is a very poetically written gothic piece of work. It is very short, but do not let that hook you in. I had to read this 2 or 3 times before I just gave up on trying to understand it. It did have spooky moments, but because of the writing style, it read just like a poem, and I'm not really into poetry. But I do love Gothic writing, and I do love the Grimm brothers. If you're looking for something similar to the Grimm brothers in premise, but written in a more poetic way, then this book would be for you. Like I said, I just had a really, really hard time getting engaged and finding out the reason or the premise, like what was the message behind the premise of this book. I do not know. Still, to this day, I don't know. It's beautifully written. It reads like a poem, like I said, but it just fell flat for me, which kind of sucked because it was the first book I read for Halloween. That all being said, with the writing style and the lack of spook factor, I'm rating this book 1 tail out of 5. Just wasn't for me. The next book that I read for Halloween is actually an anthology. It's called Goth by Ostitucci. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at the pronunciation and enunciation of names. I just get so in my head and worried about botching it that I end up, well, botching it. So this is the book I read. It is a collection of short Japanese horror stories, and I was here for it. Now, I must say, though there is a lot of variety in this book and a good amount of great stories and different tropes and themes, I must issue a general trigger warning. Be it for sexual abuse or animal cruelty, it pretty much has everything in this book. It holds back no punches. But the writing style spoke to me. Every story was different, but yet in the same way really drew me in. And I enjoyed this anthology more than I enjoyed Ring by Koji Suzuki. And I'm not much of a Japanese horror fan, but this anthology made me think I should probably give the genre another try. So I don't want to give too much away. It is a very well written short story anthology. It was very good, very creepy, very scary, had nail-biting moments. I'm rating Goth 4 tails out of 5. If it just didn't have that animal cruelty in it, it would have been a solid 5 out of 5. But because of the triggers, there were some stories that I missed out on. The next book I read after Goth was Horseman by Christina Henry. So what this book is about is exactly what you think it is. A spin-off of Irving's Sleepy Hollow with the Headless Horseman. People's bodies show up without their heads. Horseman is expected for being the culprit, and things ensue from there. Now, my thoughts on this book, first off, it is a YA. So I was expecting something a little bit more adultified, but it had a Gothic historical style of writing that the YA factor didn't bother me much. Now, there isn't a lot of super scary moments, but because of the Gothic atmosphere, it had this very misty, cold, fall evening kind of vibe. It was a perfect read for Halloween for me. The ending was okay. It didn't, like I said, didn't have a lot of scary moments, but it definitely fit the Halloween vibe, and the writing style I was definitely here for. I don't want to give too much away because it is another shorter length book, So all I'm going to leave you with is my rating, which is 4 tails out of 5. I've heard this isn't Christina Henry's best work, so I am really looking forward into diving into more of their books in the future. The next book I read is Old Country by Matt and Harrison Query. So what this book is about is a young couple get a fresh start in the country from city living. They get a homestead, but their dream home becomes a nightmare when a seasonal entity starts to terrorize them and their new home. So first off, this is a slow burn in the very definition of slow burns, but yet it is so gripping. The writing style, you wouldn't think this was written by two different people. It is really well done. Yes, it is super slow. It has a lot of day-to-day activities and less of the ghostly specter moments. But when those moments happen, I was hooked. This book had me turning page for page, even though it was such a slow burn. Like I said, super gripping. Yeah, okay, it had too much day to day, but the ending was just really, really good. It did feel rushed. It did feel rushed. I wish they had have let it have the same pace as the rest of the story. I think that would have made it better, but it was worth it to read this entire book at its pace was worth it for the ending. Now, that all being said, like I said, I don't want to give too much away on these books. I wouldn't say this is a Halloween read because it is based off seasons. You could literally read it in any season and it'd be applicable to you. But it just didn't give me those Halloween pumpkin vibes. So that all being said, I am rating Old Country by Matt and Harrison Query 3 tails out of 5. Only reason I'm knocking some points off or ratings off, whatever you want to call it, is because it is a lot of day-to-day activity. I enjoy it because I have my own home and own homestead that it kind of resonated with me. But if you're not someone that's used to that living style, it might get a little slow and dull for you. So just be wary or know that it does have a lot of day-to-day and a lot of character development, and there's not many characters in this story. So you're really diving into that. If that is your vibe, then Old Country by Matt and Harrison Query may be for you. My last and final read for Halloween was The Nightmare Man by J.H. Markert. So what this book is about is there's a horror author who writes his books based off nightmares and folklore around nightmares. But when he finds out that his newest book that hasn't even been released all that long, if at all, is a blueprint for murders, things ensue from there. I don't want to give too much away in this because there are twists in this book, but if you pay close enough attention, I think some of you will be able to predict them. That all being said, the way this is written in the multi-points of view, you go from character to character, both past and present. It was very well written, very well done, had a great pace to it. But what I lived for was the ending of this book. It wasn't quick. It wasn't just bang it out. It was a conclusion. It scratched every itch I had while reading this book. The ending was chef's kiss. It was great. I loved this book. I do like when the book goes from character to character and also has past and present. That just jives with me, and the writing style was really interesting. I liked it. I liked that it went from reading like a crime thriller into this beautiful, smooth transition into a genuine horror novel. And because of the nightmares that it's based around, and I have nightmares too, so the premise really grabbed me. It is a very good Halloween read, even though it may not be in just autumn per se or around Halloween night. It is definitely a good read for Halloween or really any time. This book is top notch. Thus, I will rate it 5 tails out of 5. We are ending strong on our Halloween wrap up this year. Well, critters, That's all from the Den of Frights tonight. Thank you so much for being here, watching, and your support. It means the whole wide and wild wilderness. It really does, critters. And until next time, stay cozy and stay spooky. Bye.